Hi, Steve with Brownells, and today I'd like to take a look at 45 caliber revolver cartridges. Give you a little overview, a little history, and let you know what the more popular ones are. I know the 44 gets all the press and all the glamour, but 45 is really where it's at, so let's take a look. I'm going to go chronologically. Starting off, here's two contemporaries right here. The 45 Colt or 45 Long Colt, let's not get into a discussion about that, and the 45 Schofield or 45 Smith Wesson. Now the 45 Schofield was made for the top break revolvers. They would snap open, eject all the empties, dump all your 6 rounds in and go again. The 45 Colt was made for the 1873 single action Peacemaker, the one we all associate with cowboys and the Old West and everything there. And at one time, there were guns and both types of ammunition in the military inventory. Now, if you've ever been in the military, you can imagine what this did in the supply chain. Some people would receive these, some people would receive these, and they may not match the firearms they were issued. But this is a very respectable cartridge. The Schofield delivered a 200 grain bullet, about 700 feet a second, nothing to sneeze at. Pretty good potent load, especially if you're looking for self-defense. The 45 Long Colt has more room in here. Back in the black powder era, that meant more power. So you had a heavier slug, about a 250 grain bullet, moving faster. And the cavalry really liked that because it would reliably put a horse down, among other things, also your opponent. So those were military cartridges pretty much from the get-go, and they served well, although the Schofield was eventually dropped and everything went over to the 45 Long Colt. Next in line, the great 45 ACP. When John Browning designed the 1911 and its predecessor, the 1905, the ACP came onto the scene, and it has continued to serve to this day. It's well known, I'm not going to go really deeply into that, but it makes a great revolver cartridge. You can put it in full moon clips like that, and you can shoot it in the original, the 1917 Smith Wesson, which was made for full moon clips or half moon clips back in the day. Or you can go with the modern 625, which will handle the same type of ammunition on full moon clips. Now, right along with the 45 ACP, we have the 45 Auto Rim. And what that does, if you look closely, you'll see that the rim is much thicker than a normal cartridge. That's because it has to equal the rim of the 45 ACP plus the added thickness of the clip. That way, when you put it in the gun, it takes up that extra room. Without that, that cartridge would flip-flop back and forth if it had a standard thickness rim. 45 Auto Rim has been gaining in popularity quite a bit of late. You can stoke it to some pretty good levels in a modern gun like this, and some people, believe it or not, don't like to use moon clips. They don't like to have to load them and unload them. It can be a bit of a pain. Hard to imagine. I like moon clips, but I also like to load certain loads in the 45 Auto Rim brass, especially hunting loads or something that's souped up a little bit with a little more power. Easy way to tell loads apart. So, moving along, in 1957, Dick Casull and others came up with the 454 Casull. This is a 45 Long Colt on steroids. It operates at much higher pressure, about 60,000 CUP if I remember right. That's rifle pressure. It can shoot a 250 grain bullet about 2,000 feet a second. That is incredible. That'd make a great rifle round. It also can shoot a 400 grain bullet about 1,400 feet a second. And if that sounds familiar, the old 4570 Trapdoor shot a 405 grain bullet at about 1,400 feet a second. So what you got here is a 4570 that fits into a holster. That's incredible. And that's due to good cartridge design, better metals, better designs, thicker cylinder walls too. And that brings us to the last stop. the 460 Smith Wesson. This is a relatively new round. And until this came out, I used to think the 454 was kind of a giant round, but if you look there, it is almost pales in comparison with the 460. The thing about the 460 is it's also operating at high pressure, and it can handle the same weight bullets as the 454, only drive them even faster, if you can believe that. This also would make a good rifle round, but it's available in the X-frame Smith & Wesson, the BFR, and some others. Now the 460, like the 454, was designed from the ground up as a hunting round. It's designed to drive heavy slugs at high velocities to put down game quickly and humanely. So when you look at this group here, you go from the 45 Schofield to the 460 Smith & Wesson. You've got a small 200 grain slug traveling at 700 feet per second. Here you've got a 250 grain slug and up traveling at around 2,000 or so. We've come a long way. There's one last thing, and this is kind of a new development in 45 revolvers, and that is the 45 Cowboy Special. And what that is a 45 Long Colt case shortened to the length of 45 ACP. Now hear me out on this, because it's really a cool idea. It's not the same as the 45 auto rim. They can't interchange very well with guns. You can't shoot a 45 auto rim in like a 45 Colt cylinder because the rim's too thick. It won't allow the cylinder to rotate. There's not enough room. You can't shoot this in a 45 ACP gun because the headspace would be too long. It would have too much play back and forth. You'd get misfires and other things. What this does is allows you to shoot a shorter case in the 45 Long Colt chamber and use 45 ACP data or even less. What it does, the 45 Long Colt's got way too much airspace for modern powders. So what this does is let cowboy action shooters and people like that load small charges of fast burning powder, get a good load, good consistent load. It also increases the magazine capacity of your lever action rifle, another side benefit. The last thing, for me personally, I've got a 45 Long Colt, 45 Colt, Smith & Wesson here, a modern one, and I was considering milling the cylinder for full moon clips so I could shoot ACPs through it. And I thought, well, wonder what the accuracy is going to be like. You don't know till you cut it, right? So I thought, why don't I just buy a bag of Starline brass for 45 Cowboy Special, load that up with the loads I want to use in the 45 ACP and see how it works. If it works out fine, go ahead and cut the cylinder. If not, nothing lost. So if you have any questions about moon clips, 45 cartridges, 44 cartridges, whatever, leave us a comment. If you'd like to learn more about moon clips, we could do a video on that. Just leave us a comment. We'll do our best to comply. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.